You ever see karma move faster than a heartbeat? Don't blink, because what is about to happen will make you believe that the universe has a way of balancing the scales instantly. And if you believe in justice, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because stories like this, you won't want to miss what comes next. It was a warm Friday afternoon in the small American town of Brookhaven, where the roads were wide, the gas stations quiet, and the sound of roaring engines echoed through the distance. Denise Carter, a 33-year-old nurse, had just finished a grueling 12-hour shift at the county hospital. She was exhausted but relieved. Another week of helping people, saving lives, and holding the hands of strangers who needed comfort more than anything else. Her old blue Honda Civic hummed gently as she pulled into the parking lot of the local diner, a small roadside spot called Benny S. Grill, the kind of place where regulars sat in the same booths every day, and the waitress called everyone Hun. Denise just wanted a cup of coffee and a slice of pie before heading home. She had her headphones in, swaying slightly to a soft R&B tune, completely unaware that fate and a group of reckless men were about to turn her quiet evening into a headline-worthy storm. The rumble of motorcycles grew louder. 5 bikers, dressed in leather vests and heavy boots, sped down the road like they owned it. The leader, a tall man with a snake tattoo curling up his neck, grinned through his beard as he spotted Denise stepping out of her car. He nudged the guy beside him. "Watch this," he said, pulling up close enough that the roar of his engine made her jump. She flinched, clutching her purse instinctively. The man laughed, loud, cruel, the kind of laugh that made bystanders turn their heads but never interfere. He parked his bike sideways, blocking her path, and said, "Hey, sweetheart, you look lost. You sure you belong around here?" Denise froze. She'd heard that tone before, the mix of mockery and challenge, but she'd learned not to react. She gave a polite smile. "Excuse me, I'm just trying to get inside," she said, her voice calm but steady. The man revved his engine again, smirking. "Not so fast, pretty lady. How about a smile first?" His buddies laughed behind him, circling their bikes like vultures. One of them muttered something under his breath that Denise didn't fully catch, but it made the others howl with laughter. She stepped aside, trying to walk around. But that's when it happened. Quick as lightning, a hand shot out. Slap. The sound echoed. His palm had struck her cheek, not hard enough to knock her down, but enough to sting, enough to humiliate. Time seemed to freeze. The laughter of his friends faded into a stunned silence. Denise stood there, eyes wide, hand on her cheek, trying to process what had just happened. Then, something unexpected occurred. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just whispered, almost to herself, "You shouldn't have done that." The man chuckled. "Or what?" he sneered. But in that exact second, a shadow moved from the edge of the parking lot, tall, broad-shouldered, and silent as a storm cloud. A man in a brown leather jacket, wearing a ball cap low over his eyes, stepped forward. He'd been sitting on the hood of a black pickup truck, drinking coffee from a paper cup, watching the whole thing. The bikers hadn't noticed him, but Denise had seen him earlier inside the diner. He'd been sitting by himself, quiet, reading the newspaper. Now he set the cup down on the hood and said in a calm, measured voice, "You've got about 1 second to apologize." The leader turned, grinning. "Oh yeah? Or what, cowboy?" The man tilted his head. "Or you'll learn the hard way that gravity doesn't play favorites." The bikers laughed again, roaring with mockery. But before their laughter could even fade, before the next breath could be drawn, the man moved. No one saw exactly how. One blink he was 10 feet away, the next he was right in front of the leader, grabbing his wrist with one hand and twisting it so fast that the man's knees buckled. The other bikers tried to rush in, but they didn't get far. Within a second, the first man was on the ground, groaning, and the others found themselves sprawling beside him, their bodies tangled, their pride shattered. Denise stood frozen, eyes wide, not believing what she was seeing. It wasn't just fighting, it was precision, control, something that looked almost choreographed. Within moments, all 5 men were on the pavement, groaning, their bikes tipped over beside them. The man in the leather jacket crouched beside the leader and said, "You ever touch another woman like that, you won't be getting up next time." He stood, adjusted his jacket, and turned to Denise. "You okay?" She nodded, stunned. Who? Who are you?" The man gave a small smile. "Just someone who doesn't like bullies." And with that, he walked back toward his truck. But before he could leave, Denise called out, "Wait, please." "Thank you." The man nodded, tipped his cap, and disappeared down the road. It should have ended there. But Denise would soon learn that the story was just beginning, because those bikers weren't just some random troublemakers. They were part of something bigger, darker, and much more dangerous than she could have imagined. And the man who saved her? He wasn't just a passerby. He was someone with a history that connected directly to them. Over the next few days, strange things began to happen. Denise noticed cars parked across from her apartment at odd hours. Her phone would ring and there'd be silence on the other end. And then one night, she came home to find a note slipped under her door. "You should have kept quiet." Fear crept in, cold and heavy. She knew she couldn't go to the police, not in Brookhaven, where the sheriff's brother-in-law ran with the same biker crew that attacked her. But she wasn't alone. The man from the diner, the one in the leather jacket, knew this was coming. His name was Marcus Halle, and years ago he'd worn the same patch those bikers did. But after what they did to his sister, he'd walked away and vowed to bring the whole operation down. Seeing Denise that day wasn't coincidence. He'd been following leads, tracking the gang's movements. When he saw the assault, he knew they'd made their biggest mistake yet. He had evidence, photos, documents, and names, everything needed to expose them. But he also knew going public could cost him his life. Meanwhile, Denise found courage she didn't know she had. She met with Marcus secretly at an abandoned auto shop outside town. He showed her what he'd gathered, drug routes, money laundering records, even links to the local sheriff. "You want justice?" he asked. "Then you'll have to help me get it." Denise hesitated, fear warring with determination. "They'll come after me," she said softly. Marcus nodded. "They already are. The only way out is through." From that night on, their lives intertwined. Together, they planned to take the gang down from the inside, using Marcus as knowledge and Denise as access to local authorities who weren't too corrupt. But the deeper they dug, the more dangerous it got. Surveillance cameras, threats, break-ins, and then, one night, a firebomb through Denise's window. She barely made it out alive. That was the moment Marcus knew there was no turning back. What started as a slap had become a war. The fire had eaten through Denise's apartment like a beast hungry for silence, and the acrid smell of smoke still clung to her clothes as she sat in the back seat of Marcus's truck, staring blankly out the window while the night wind whipped against her face. The flashing red lights of the fire trucks faded behind them, and for the first time in her life, she realized how fragile safety could be, how quickly an ordinary life could collapse into chaos. Marcus drove without saying a word, his hands gripping the steering wheel tight enough for his knuckles to pale. He knew what the fire meant. The bikers weren't bluffing anymore. They wanted to erase witnesses, tie up loose ends, and bury the truth with flames. Denise finally broke the silence, her voice trembling. "They would have killed me." Marcus nodded, his eyes fixed on the dark road ahead. "That's why we can't wait for them to come again." "We hit first." Denise frowned. "You mean ... go after them?" He looked at her for a moment. "No, we go after what they fear, exposure." He explained how years ago he had worked inside the organization as a mechanic before realizing the club wasn't just a bunch of bikers. They were a front for a network that moved drugs and laundered money through small-town businesses. He'd collected data secretly, but before he could turn it over, his sister had been caught in the crossfire of one of their deals gone wrong. That's when he left, disappeared, until he saw what they did to Denise and knew it was time to finish what he started. The next morning they drove out to an old storage facility on the outskirts of town where Marcus kept everything he'd gathered. Boxes full of Ledger's USB drives, photographs, even a small drone he used to record their movements. Denise helped him organize everything, her fear slowly hardening into resolve. "If we can prove the sheriff's involved," she said, scanning the documents, "we can go straight to the State Bureau. They'll take it seriously." Marcus nodded. "Exactly. But first, we need one more piece, the ledger that lists payments. It's kept at their clubhouse." Denise froze. "You mean we have to go there?" Marcus met her eyes. "Only for a minute." That night, they parked a mile away and moved quietly through the woods behind the clubhouse. The sound of laughter and rock music spilled into the night. The bikers were inside, celebrating something. Marcus crept forward, scanning the back wall for the small window he remembered from years ago. "Keep watch," he whispered. Denise's heart pounded as she crouched beside a tree, watching him slip through the shadows like a ghost. Minutes passed like hours. Then, suddenly, the laughter inside turned to shouting. Denise's pulse spiked. Something was wrong. She saw a light flash inside the window, followed by the sound of glass breaking. "Marcus," she whispered harshly. A door slammed open, and Marcus burst out, clutching a small notebook. Two bikers followed, yelling curses. Marcus sprinted toward the woods, shouting, "Run!" They tore through the trees, the sound of pursuit echoing behind them. Just as Denise tripped over a root, Marcus grabbed her arm and pulled her upright. A gunshot cracked through the air, a warning shot. Then another, closer this time. They dove behind an old log, breath ragged. "We can't outrun them," Denise panted. Marcus pulled a small remote from his pocket and pressed a button. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted behind them. His drone, rigged with a flash charge, detonated in a burst of light that sent the bikers scattering. "That'll buy us 30 seconds, he said, grabbing her hand. They sprinted back to the truck, tires screeching as they sped down the dirt road, leaving the chaos behind. When they finally stopped at a gas station 2 towns over, Denise turned to him. "You planned that?" He gave a tired grin. "Always planned for an exit." She shook her head in disbelief. "You're insane." "Maybe," he said, "but now we have everything." They checked the notebook. It was exactly what they needed. Every transaction, every name, every date. Even the sheriff's signature. "This is it," Marcus said quietly. "This brings them down." But the next day, when they drove to the nearest State Bureau office, something went wrong again. As soon as they parked, 2 unmarked black cars rolled in behind them, blocking the exit. Marcus's instincts flared. He knew that look. Federal agents got out, but their badges looked off. One of them, a man with slick back hair, walked up to the window. "Marcus Holloway?" Marcus cracked his door slightly. "Who's asking?" "Detective Lang," the man said, flashing his badge. "We need to speak with you and your companion." Marcus's gut screamed danger. "About what?" "About the evidence you stole from a federal case?" Denise glanced at him in confusion. "Federal case?" The man smirked. "Oh, you didn't know? Those records you're carrying, they're part of an ongoing investigation." "Hand them over." Marcus clenched his jaw. He knew the game. Those weren't feds. They were hired cleanup. He turned the key and slammed the truck into reverse, tires screeching as the vehicle spun out and shot down the side road. Bullets didn't follow. They weren't trying to kill him, just stop him. But now he understood. This went higher than he'd thought. It wasn't just local corruption. Someone powerful was protecting the bikers. "We can't go to the cops," he said through gritted teeth. "Then who?" Denise asked. "We'll have to go public." He drove them to a friend's house. Jasmine, a former journalist who owed Marcus a favor. Jasmine listened to their story, her expression darkening with every word. "You have enough to blow the whole thing open," she said. "But you need proof they can't discredit, something on record." Marcus nodded. "We can get that. The sheriff's meeting them tonight at the old mill. If we catch it on video, it's over." Jasmine handed him her recording equipment. "Be careful," she said. "If they find you there, you're dead." That night, under the cover of mist and moonlight, Marcus and Denise crept toward the mill. They hid behind rusted machinery, the faint glow of headlights cutting through the dark. The sheriff's UV rolled in, followed by 3 bikes, Voices carried through the night. Payments are short, one of the bikers growled. You better fix that, the sheriff replied. Keep your mouths shut, and no one will ever know. You'll get your cut next week. Denise held her breath as Marcus recorded everything, zooming in on the faces. But then, a noise, a crunch of gravel. One of the bikers turned. What was that? He started toward them, flashlight beams slicing through the dark. Denise's heart hammered in her chest. Marcus whispered, Don't move, but the light caught on the edge of her shoe. Hey! The biker shouted. Someone's here! Marcus grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the back exit, but headlights flared again, a second car blocking their escape. Men jumped out. Get them! Chaos erupted. Marcus shoved the camera into Denise's hands. Run! Get this to Jasmine. What about you? Go! He turned, blocking the men with nothing but a steel pipe he grabbed off the ground. Denise ran, clutching the camera tight, tears streaming as she heard shouts and the sound of struggle behind her. She didn't stop until she reached the main road, flagging down a passing truck. The driver, a kind old man, let her in without question. Where to? He asked. Downtown Brookhaven, Channel 7, she gasped. She burst into Jasmine's office an hour later, shaking. He's still there, she cried. You have to help him. Jasmine took the camera, downloaded the footage, and her eyes widened. This is everything. They immediately uploaded the file to multiple secure drives and contacted a national journalist Marcus had trusted years ago. Within hours, the footage hit the airwaves. The story exploded: corruption, gang ties, a sheriff under fire, the entire town buzzing with outrage. But Marcus ... He hadn't returned. Denise couldn't sleep that night, staring at her phone, waiting for a call that didn't come. At dawn, a message appeared on her screen, an unknown number, safe for now. Stay hidden. You did good. It was Marcus. Relief washed over her, but she knew it wasn't over. Because when people in power fall, they don't go quietly. And in Brookhaven, the reckoning was only beginning.